Hey, this is Gerd Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel and today I have a lovely guest with me who is helping people to heal their gut health. Mona Sharma is a holistic nutritionist and yoga teacher and has spent many years working with professional athletes and celebrities to help them balance their health and work life. She believes that being happy, healthy and feeling beautiful are not independent of one another, they are interconnected. Mona, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show again, and thank you for joining us in the space here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back with you.
Oh, bless you. I can't believe it's been 1 year since we last spoke.
I blinked and here we are.
I love it. And so, my dear, last time we were on the show, we spoke about your story, how you transformed your life, and the power of yoga. So this time, I'd love to talk to you about the importance of having a healthy gut, especially when you're pregnant, and when did you start paying attention to your own gut?
Yeah, I'm also a registered nutritionist, so I love the fact that the awareness of gut health has really been on the rise for a while now. And I think the most important aspect of this, honestly, is that it's becoming recognized by the medical community as a major player in so many types of illnesses and diseases. And this is anything ranging from chronic pain to digestive disorders, thyroid issues, autoimmune disease, the list just really goes on. So when I try to describe it to people so that they understand its importance, your gut really consists of two parts. There's one, the human part, that is, the neurons, the synapses, the communication that happens with your brain. We've all heard about that gut-brain connection. That's why it's called your second brain. It runs along this gut-brain axis. But the second part consists of this kind of microbiotic brain or microbiome. You probably heard that term before.
Yeah.
And yeah, this consists of, lots of bacteria and viruses, and it's an entire ecosystem that lives within us. And it's so fascinating. But these microbes really support our digestion, our brain, our immune system, our hormones, essential, obviously, during pregnancy, and even our mood, our behavior, and our mental health. So unfortunately, we've lived so many years thinking that bacteria was the enemy when it's actually essential to our health. 70 to 80% of our immune system resides in our gut. So when we think about our health, pregnant or not, poor gut health can really predispose us from anything to autoimmune disease, but basic things like allergy, asthma, skin problems, eczema, psoriasis, depression, anxiety, and obesity even, right? So the list is really, really growing. So to answer your question, I think that my awareness around gut health really started at an early age. I might have shared this last time, but my mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. Today they're recognizing that it's actually linked to leaky gut. And from a very young age, this took over her whole body. I've really only known my mom with this debilitating pain and deformity. And thankfully, growing up, we had a doctor who practiced functional medicine. So functional medicine is when you treat health as opposed to treating disease. That's huge. Yeah, so from a young age, I've always known about the power of food and nutrition as therapy. So sadly, though, this went out the window. So this is going to sound familiar to a lot of people. Like so many people, I threw this out the window when I was working a corporate job. So in my corporate world, I was stressed. I was sad. My adrenals were overworked. I was tired, even if I slept a full 8 hours. Waking up with pain was often normal for me. I was dependent on coffee. I think it was like a food category for me. I was eating on the run. I had poor digestion. It was actually awful. I was constantly bloated, moody, craving sugar and carbs and fat. And I can honestly say that moving into the health world or even taking note of how I was feeling and then moving into nutrition actually saved my life.
Wow.
Now I think I speak more powerfully about this because I'm the living proof of food being able to heal my body, right? And I know that these
Mm.
symptoms are just so prevalent in our culture today. So obviously, flash forward when I became pregnant, this magnified my focus on digestion and gut health. So, obviously, first, having so many hormonal changes is tough for any woman to keep up. But using food as therapy during this time was essential. I noticed that my digestion was off, I wasn't feeling good. So, I really tried to own in on the fact that I could actually take care of my body. And you probably, obviously, you know this expression. So, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you are what you absorb. So
Mm.
even though I consider myself someone healthy, I'm sure you do too. But
Mm.
often, if our digestion is out of whack, we're not getting the nutrients that we need from our food. So, I can honestly say that having a healthy pregnancy starts in your gut. If a mother's gut isn't healthy,
Mm.
I would say that then the baby will have access to, nutrients, or if it is healthy, it'll have access to nutrients available from the mother's diet. And if the gut isn't healthy, even if her diet is pristine, her nutrient absorption is going to be compromised. And this means that the nutrients available for things like fetal development, right, they're going to be restricted. And
Wow.
it's really going to impact how the mom feels during her pregnancy.
Wow. I guess it's like, when if the mother's feeling sad, the baby absorbs that as well. So it's kind of like the same, whatever she's feeling or she's, like you said, eating, that's what the child's going to absorb.
Yeah, I kind of relate it these days to your vibration, right? Whatever your
Mm.
vibration is when you're pregnant, that's going to resonate with your child. So you want to
Mm.
operate at a high vibration. I know it's easier said than done, especially I can see so many women just saying that they felt awful during their pregnancy. But there's things that you can do to make sure that you're at least in moments feeling like you're vibrating at a high level.
Can you tell us, like, how gut health can tie in with all areas of our life?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've always thought of the brain in our head being the driving center. But imagine, what if we considered our microbiome as the center that controls how we feel, right? Our gut, trust your gut,
Mm.
right? That saying is there for a reason.
Yeah.
How we feel, controls how and whether or not we're going to show up in every day and how we want to live. And I would say that, energy and mood are everything. Um, there's a number of substances, obviously, the chemicals that we know of, that control feelings of happiness. So things like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and other endorphins. But while these hormones float around in our brain to help our moods feel brighter, it's not our brain that supplies these substances. So um, anybody can look this up. Studies now show that an estimated 50% of our dopamine and the majority of our serotonin, our feel good hormone, is actually created in our intestine. So we know that the chemicals
Mm.
responsible for regulating happiness, appetite, digestion, and our feelings, now people are taking a much closer look at the gut's role in our mood. And, when I was doing a bit of research, it's like astounding. So depression, anxiety disorders are higher than they've ever been. There was a
Wow.
recent study that actually showed that 35% of depressive patients actually showed signs of leaky gut. So there's that gut brain connection again, right? Like you can't ignore those facts. Um, but the most important finding that they had was that this imbalance of bacteria actually can activate an autoimmune response. So this imbalance can cause inflammation, and then it makes sense for inflammation to then trigger things like depression and a depleted mood and fatigue, right? Like it just makes sense.
Mm.
So, in every aspect of your life, I would say that it can be impacted by gut health, how you metabolize, how you absorb nutrients, how you're fueled, and most importantly, your happiness. So, we talk about mind body health,
Mm.
but what an interesting concept if we talk about not mind body, but body mind health, right? And I think this
Mm.
is a discussion that people need to have, especially if you're not waking up and experiencing happiness and joy. And you know, I get it. We're living at a time when stress is at an all time high, but happiness should be an emotion that you feel every day. And your state of mind is really the driver in your life, right? Wouldn't you agree that when you're happy, you can really show up as your best self?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I think it's interesting, like you were saying about there's like depression and anxieties on a rise more than ever. Would you say that's because the food that we're now eating doesn't have that the same amount of nutrients, like compared to like our grandparents?
Yeah, I think that's a big contributor for sure. The food that we're purchasing today just doesn't have the nutrient dense soil that it used to, right?
Mm.
But it's also a combination. When people are stressed, stress is essentially a fight or flight type of a symptom, right? When
Yeah.
we're in fight or flight, our digestion shuts down. We cannot digest and metabolize food when we are that stressed. And what do we do instead? When we're stressed, we're also eating on the run. We're not focusing on our food. We're eating in the car. We're eating at our computers. Like, we're literally just shoving food down the hatch. So when you're in that state, your body's primary concern isn't dealing with the digestion and fueling your body and your mind. It's dealing with the stress. And that takes away from so much nutrient absorption these days.
Wow. I can totally relate with everything you're saying, because before I left the media world in 2012, that was me, that I was running to work with toast in my mouth.
Yeah.
Always running, always late, always stressed, always eating at my desk, never really having that me time as well. And I think that it's not quite important to have with gut health.
Isn't that the norm these days, though? You know what I mean? Like, people have
Mm.
to go out to dinner. They have to make it a social event to sit and have a meal. But even then, the phones are out on the table just in case.
Yeah.
So, part of my coaching with my clients is really taking the time to sit, to rest, and digest.
I like that. So what can somebody do, like while you're pregnant, to increase their gut health?
It's great that the protocol can actually stay the same. So I always advise my clients to first focus on food, right? Eating whole
Mm.
foods, we all know this, limiting processed foods, avoiding sugar. Sugar specifically is the number one cause of, the bad bacteria feeding on sugar within your diet. It boosts bad bacteria in your gut.
Mm.
So you want to focus on things that support your gut. So one of the best things out there is something like bone broth. Bone broth is so beneficial at all times for the gut, but especially during pregnancy because it's easy to digest and it really helps to reduce nausea. Other foods include fermented foods, things like wild caught salmon and sardines, believe it or not, that are loaded with
Really?
omega 3s. Omega 3s are really anti-inflammatory. You want to reduce inflammation, specifically when you're pregnant. And these are also essential to like neurological health, right? Brain health. Uh,
Mm.
Other things, no surprise here, green leafy vegetables loaded with, things like folate, but also essential for fetal development. And these are the things that are really going to make the mama's nervous system thrive, right?
Mm.
And I would say things like low glycemic berries. So berries we know are rich in antioxidants as well. Things like blueberries, cherries, raspberries, high antioxidant, loaded with minerals, and they're also kind of great for sweet tooth. So yeah, nutrition during pregnancy is obviously so essential, but I would say that the biggest feature of this, and something that doesn't often get talked about, is that it really sets up your chances of having an even better fourth trimester. So after baby arrives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, usually we have our babies, we're sent home, and then we just deal with it, right? But in the fourth trimester, this is when you go through the most massive hormonal shift, and the mom has to deal with it. And it's obviously, these emotions
Mm.
that come up. It's self-care at this time, nourishment at this time, that are a game changer. And I really want to stress this because it can set you up for success. It can set you up for just feeling good at a time when you're bonding with your baby, and also when your body's doing probably the most dramatic form of healing and recovery that it ever will.
Wow. I never really thought about that. Kind of need the recovery after. Didn't really
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about
they
that.
call it a fourth trimester for a reason, but that's the one thing that's not really talked about, right? I think that's an area that needs
Yeah.
the most kind of care. One of the stages that needs the most care, and the one after that is when a mother, if she's nursing, when she stops breastfeeding. It's a massive hormonal shift that your body has to deal with, and we're not in a village anymore. We have a team of women kind of guiding us through this. So a lot of new moms out there, especially, are just hit really hard with that hormonal shift and not knowing how food can really be therapeutic at this time. Everything goes on the baby. Something that I did for both of my pregnancy, and I highly advise this for any moms that are listening, is getting some sort of food delivery service. In the first 2 or 3
Mm.
weeks, I found somebody who focused on Ayurvedic food, warm and soothing, that are easy to digest, that don't have, too much flavor or too much spice, but they were just there and ready for me to consume. And I wish that, the people coming over to see you, if they're not friends and family coming to see you. They should honestly be considered staff. Staff is coming over to support you. Really, that's their role. Giving birth to a baby is just, you know, obviously, this miracle, but it's the amount of effort that your body has gone through. I'm always amazed at how I could have grown an actual human being in just 9 months, right? And then you give birth and it's like, oh, it's done. No, it's not done. You've got to go through another year of transitioning back, how you used to feel, your body healing, right? So this fourth trimester is really essential for healing. And I think that there needs to be more conversation about, the friends and family who do come and visit, that they need a role. They need a role in helping the mother cope.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting with some women when they go straight away back to work. I'm just thinking with my own mum. My mum was a nurse and I think within a few months that she was back to work. And I think you're right. They don't really pay attention to their own well-being. Yeah. It's like, okay, we need to look after the baby. It's all about the baby. And then they kind of almost forget about their nutrients and what they need and what makes them feel good or what makes them feel like you said, like themselves again.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Especially, when you're nursing, you're keeping another human alive, right? You are extremely depleted at that point. And it's so sad. I'm originally from Canada, where we're given a year mat leave, but in the States where I am now in Los Angeles, most women I know, even after a C-section, are going back to work after 6 or 9 weeks. I can't even imagine, right? But it's just the reality these days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad.
There's a reason. I feel like people are forgetting there's a reason why it takes a year.
Exactly, right?
There's a reason why we have those breaks. There's a reason for it all. But I feel like sometimes we forget that and we think we're robots.
Oh my gosh, I think you're even inspiring me to do like a month by month recap of what happens, what's going on in your body 4 months, 5 months, 6 months postnatal, right?
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Absolutely.
It's so important. It's taken 9 months to form this amazing baby, and then you're releasing it out into the world. Like, you need that time to come back to you and also realize that there's another human being as well, right?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of women will resonate with the fact, like, there is a sense of pride being able to bounce back, right? We all want to bounce back and get back into the swing of things. And, I'm a driven entrepreneur and my business exists. And I remember, thinking that I would take so much time, but of course, inevitably, I was jumping right into it. And my mentality was, I can do it all. I can do it all. Yeah, we can do it all, but at what cost, right? Yeah, so setting up boundaries to really make it all work, I think, is essential.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just amazed that some people don't even, like you said, 6 weeks, that's a shock to me.
Yeah.
Wow. So I've got an interesting topic, and I feel like a lot of people don't really realise this. When we heal our gut, that can also help us to shine our light even more.
I love that. Yeah. So really how we show up. This is a great question. So funny enough, I recently watched an incredible docuseries called The Broken Brain. And this is by one of my mentors, Dr. Mark Hyman. Have you heard of him?
I haven't actually, no.
He's been one of my mentors in the functional medicine world since I was in school for nutrition. And the series is incredibly informative, and it illustrates how we cannot have a discussion about the brain without having a discussion about your gut, and vice versa. Like, they really go hand in hand. So what I loved, and I'll never forget this, he started off the docuseries by asking one simple question. And that question was, how do you feel? And he stops. So for anyone listening to this, including you, I'm going to ask, how do you feel? And it's a really powerful question because it forces us to stop and tune in. So we tune in not only to the way that our body feels or how it's working, but we tune into what our mood is. Like, what's your mood right now? It's not what are you up to? It's how do you feel? So are you feeling clear? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling positive? Or is the underlying emotion something like anxiety or feeling lethargic or feeling foggy or just not having energy, right? So this gut brain or mind body is a bi-directional system. So if you heal your mind, you can heal your body. If you heal your body, you're going to heal your brain. And this is exactly what he states. There's so much truth to this. So if we own this, if we can make the necessary changes in our life so that we can wake up and feel good every day, then we can show up and feel good every day. This is when our inner light shines. Absolutely.
That's so interesting. Wow. Wow.
Because how can you shine when you don't feel good, right?
Yeah. And I guess if you're not, if you don't feel good, like, then you're going to be serving from even a more depleted state.
Yeah, do you remember those days? There's just some days where you can just get everything done. You're feeling great. You can catch up with friends. You get all your tasks done, and you have energy. You go to bed. You have a great night's sleep. Like, it's sad to say that those types of days are few and far between for most people. Imagine if that
Mm.
was your state every day, right?
Yeah.
That's game changing health.
Yeah. Wow. Well, if anyone's
Good
out
question.
there, sorry?
Good question.
Yeah. I was going to say, if anyone's out there, contact Mona.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell, like, I really geek out on this kind of stuff. I'm just so passionate about the connection and all of the
Mm.
education and awareness that's coming to surface about gut health, and I hope it's just going to continue.
Yeah. Also, there's another thing as well that I remember many years ago. You can ask yourself, what does my body need in order to heal? And if you ask that question as well, like, your body will, you'll get a voice say, "This is what I need."
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to remember that every single person has a specific constitution, right?
Mm.
So even with food, when if you're going to Google what the best or hottest diet out there is because of facts or science, that diet isn't going to be good for everybody. So,
Yeah.
recently I just came to the awareness that this idea of a low carbohydrate, clean protein, good quality fat diet is actually not suitable for me. It's not the best diet for me. My constitution has to do most likely with my genetics. My dad is Indian, my mom is
Yeah.
Danish. I look more Indian. So, really, a diet that
Yeah.
is higher in carbohydrates, things that are foods that are warming for my system, I feel better
Mm.
when I'm doing that. When I'm having too much fat, even if it's a good quality fat, I don't feel good. So, your
Mm.
constitution is going to be different. So, going to a cookie cutter, one type fits all kind of thing, just be aware. Always try to check in with how the foods make you feel.
I'm so glad you said that because I had a friend of mine, Heather Dane, who is on Hay House, and we were talking about this last year, and it was so interesting that our ancestral food is actually what we need the most. And when we were talking about that, Mona, like, I realised that when I went through a stage when I was at university where I didn't really want any Indian food. I was just like, oh, I've had enough. And in that year that I didn't have the Indian food, I was depleted, I was tired, I was anxious. And it was only when I went back into the working world, when I started to cook again, that actually I started to crave those things like certain spices and herbs. And when I started having those again, my energy just shifted.
Absolutely. Yeah, energy shifts. And for me, it was a big mood shift. Like, I felt lighter. I wasn't living under
Mm.
a fog. So a lot of the protein, the fat in my diet was really weighing me down, literally weighing me down. But when I switched that, my mood was just better every single day. So it makes sense to look at your constitution and also your heritage. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as well, like, there's a reason why, like, our ancestors ate those foods.
Yeah.
Because that's what they handed down from generation to generation. So if we start kind of, it's not that we're saying, everyone out there, that you should just eat ancestral food and that's it. We're just saying that pay attention to what feels right for you. And if it is that you need a balance, then go for it. But you always kind of need a little bit of the ancestral side. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. And, it might change by season, right? But like you said,
Mm.
in the change of season, you can switch your diet, notice how you feel again, right?
Yeah.
And I just hope that this whole fear of carbohydrates just disappears as well.
Mm.
Carbohydrates can come from fruits and vegetable. It doesn't have to be from grains and breads and crackers and stuff like that. So, believe it
Wow.
or not, when I switch back to this type of eating and having more carbohydrates than protein or fat, I actually lost more weight that way. Isn't that amazing? Like,
Wow. What?
yeah, I was fueling my body. That was the difference.
Mm. That's amazing. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. So, my dear, we are coming towards the end of the show. It's gone so quick. Flipping out.
Yeah,
It's fascinating. I'm just really fascinated by everything you're saying. It's so interesting. I've got a few more questions left for you.
okay.
My first question is, what are your 5 top tips for someone who's like currently suffering with severe gut health at the moment?
Yeah, so if you feel like you have symptoms of poor digestion or gut health, I would say that the number one thing is we'll try to work with a naturopathic doctor or somebody, some type of doctor within the functional medicine world so that you can really
Mm.
assess what it is. Don't go to the health food store and buy every product on the shelf that's specifically for gut health. Like, figure out what it is specific to you, get the right test done. But five basic things that most people can do, things that I recommend to all of my clients and my students, is number one, take a really good quality probiotic every day, maybe twice a day. That contains about 5 to 10 million CFUs, colony forming units a day. And you want to look for multiple strains of bacteria. So lactobacilli, something that most people are familiar with, but you want to look for different strains because different strains offer different benefits. So,
Mm.
yeah, some with digestion, fibers, another one with absorption, some help with bowel regularity. So, look for a broad spectrum probiotic. Number two, no brainer, reduce your stress. You know, like we said, the communication between your gut and your brain makes it clear that stress can be linked to gut health. When a stressed brain is what exists, then your gut obviously is not going to be able to deal with the demands that you have every single day, and it's going to impact your life, right? So
Mm.
this could be something as simple as going to bed earlier, waking up with a gratitude journal, using a meditation app. Meditation can be 3 minutes a day, something to just bring you into the moment. I really try to recommend a minimum of 20 minutes a day. But also, what's your form of reducing stress? Do what feels good for you, something that tunes into you specifically. What else? Number three, I guess, would be food, as I said. So, eating a variety of foods, fiber rich foods, and removing the toxic inflammatory foods. So, I always say things like wheat, highly inflammatory these days, dairy, often highly inflammatory, and especially the refined sugar, um, which, promotes the growth of bad bacteria in your gut. And the
Mm.
most important thing that I'm just seeing again, I don't even know why I see it at every coffee shop still, removing all artificial sweeteners.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You think that they're going to, reduce your weight, the waistline, and not contributing to fat gain, but these are proven to have a negative effect on our gut and also on our blood sugar. So
Mm.
no artificial sweeteners ever again. Number four, fermented foods. So fermented foods, it's an acquired taste, but always keep in mind that food is medicine, right? If you know that your
Yeah.
food is your medicine, you acquire the taste for them. So things like sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, these can all contribute to good bacteria in your gut. And lastly, I guess sleep and exercise will probably go hand in hand. They're essential to your microbiome and the relation to your mental health, right? When we go away on vacation and we take the time to rest and perhaps
Mm.
exercise or be in nature, these are things that fuel us, right? It's not necessarily the vacation, but it's the time that you're taking for yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with sleep because I was somebody a few years back, lived off 3 hours sleep
Hmm.
every
Yeah.
day for several years, and my day, it was the worst thing I did. It took, I think it was like from 2013 till 2015, that's all I did. And in 2015, that's when my kidney started playing up. So that's when I learned that sleep is important.
Absolutely. You heal, right? When sleep
Yeah,
is so much more, your body literally rejuvenates. Your
yeah.
body takes care of things. It clears out the junk and the trash. So it's essential. And what I find is that the people who are in good health, who focus on that
Mm.
rest and digest, the repair, when they sleep, they're actually sleeping fewer hours and they feel okay with that because they're actually rested.
That's so true. 100%.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like busy women out there, entrepreneurs, and they're like thinking that they don't need to sleep a lot. But I think it's key that you have to listen to what your body needs. Like some people need like 6 hours, some people need 8 or even 9. And
Hmm.
I kind of knew myself back before Mona that I needed 9, but I refused to listen to that. And I guess like it was a learning curve for me to realize that I'm not a robot, I'm a human being, and that sleep is fine.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm not a napper. So, especially during pregnancy, my
Mm,
daughter is going through, she's waking up 3 to 4 times a night, right? So
wow.
there's this massive lack of sleep that's happening. Of course, that's going to impact my mood and my energy every day, right? So really taking the time. I know a lot of people who used to feel guilty for taking a nap, even if it was for 5 or 10 minutes. The guilt just consumes them. Instead of looking at the flip side, oh, hey, if I sleep for 5 or 10 minutes, just take a bit of a rest, I can actually show up more, be happier, and be more productive with the rest of my day.
Yeah. And I feel like kids, like babies especially, show us that. Like, there's a reason why they have so many naps during the day and they have more energy because they're sleeping more.
Yeah, and what happens with a baby that misses their nap?
Oh, gosh.
They're inconsolable. Inconsolable.
It's so true.
As adults, we reach for the coffee and the stimulants and the things to make up for that, right? That's how we deal with soothing that aspect. With a baby, they just scream it out.
Yeah. I feel like babies teach us a lot about life, and that, you know, sleeping, being happy, being joyful, it's everything that they teach us. And I guess that's like with our gut health, that's the same thing. It's having the sleep, being joyful, being free, and accepting yourself.
You're so right. You are so, so right.
So my next question is, what are you most grateful for?
Definitely grateful for my family. I think most grateful for also, if I think professionally, helping others feel good. I think this is what drives me every day. So many people are suffering and they've gotten used to living with symptoms of dis-ease, right? Not disease, but dis-ease in the body. And I know that many people consider healthy living and they automatically think, oh, well, that's going to be deprivation. That means that I can't enjoy food. But I promise you that when you honor your body, truly, your taste buds are going to follow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you honor your body, your taste buds will follow. You're not going to crave those foods that you think make you happy. There's so much enjoyment to be had in food, but these days there's so much access to healthier alternatives that really fulfill those cravings. And I think that my purpose and what makes me shine every day, is to share the tools that I have so that people can heal, so that they can show up as their best self every day. You know, seeing people go from a state of how I felt when I was at my worst in the corporate world and just in that type of life. And then taking that, and it doesn't mean that you have to leave your job or take a massive leap into another industry the way that I did, but using the tools that are available today to make your life, to create the life and the feeling that you want in your body. And funny enough, I guess while I was pregnant and over the course of the past 4 months since my daughter was born, my husband and I have even decided to launch sort of a side business within the health and wellness world. And it really does have to do with gut health, because I'm just so turned on by the power that this has over our health and over our emotions, so that, you know, really shining light for other people and feeling good every day.
Wow. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for sharing everything today, because it's definitely going to help somebody out there. And I think you're so right that our gut is so powerful. Our gut is the key to our health and well-being.
I agree. And just, stay tuned. There's going to be so much more awareness that comes to the surface. I'm excited to see that. And I'm excited, for the medical community to really own this as well, right? So that when you go to the doctor, they're not going to look at treating the illness. They're going to look at treating the health.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what an amazing interview with Mona. Do check out her work because it's so powerful, and if you're pregnant right now, it can really help you when you're feeling drained or tired. She really has the tools to help you to heal that. Now, just before I head off, I want to invite you to rise up and speak your truth. I invite you to quit self-sacrifice and reclaim your inner light. As a life coach and light leader for women, I've dedicated my life in service to helping women empower themselves, quit the self-sacrifice, and have pure bliss and joy in 60 days or less. If this resonates with you, message me through my Facebook page or my website at www.gerdshundel.com. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Gut health is the key to overall health. That's a quote by Chris Carr. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.